Observaciones de mi vida, victoria. Mi vida ya está escrita. Victoria, pero sigo el mismo. Nunca cambio, aunque tenga muchos títulos. Ahora muchos me dicen Sabor Latino. Te felicito, mi hermano, eres famoso. Gracias por todo el apoyo, es la respuesta. El mensaje: nunca te rindas en la vida. Y nunca me olvido de esa celda que hasta hoy tengo. Muchas pesadillas, 360, la vida da vuelta. Ahora inspiro familias en una escuela. 7 publicaciones, sueños cumplidos. Que represento, hip-hop positivo. Los dolores ahora son canciones. Más bendiciones, más observaciones y más versos. Ahora más escupo bendiciones. Ahora me despido. Victoria, porque me monta tanta...
Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing out there? Oh, man, here we go again. Another episode on the Learning Moment with Sabor Latino. Before I get started, I hope everyone is doing well. I just want to say thank you to everyone that continues to follow the show, the fans, the community. I appreciate the messages, the emails that everyone is really tuned in and appreciating, this positive podcast for self-help and being able to help so many people that are going through so many situations. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. But with all this being said, today we have a very special guest, a very inspirational person, someone that did not call me. A lot of the times they call Sabor Latino that they want to come on the show. I was like, I need to reach out to him. A very inspirational person, graduate student, graduated, master's degree, social worker, licensed, clinician, we can say, and also working on his PhD, right? And disabilities and representing the Latino community. And we're going to get into all those things and what are some things that he can bring as some learning moments that he's been through that he would like to share. So, with all this being said, further ado, everyone please welcome Mr. Isaac to the show. Let me give him a round of applause. Absolutely. Oh man. Yeah, so excited, man. Before we even get started, I just want to say thank you for taking the time. I know you're so busy working with the families you serve and the social work thing and school, right? You're extremely busy. But I really appreciate you just taking the time and coming out, you know what I mean? And showing support to Sabor Latino's podcast. And I'm really thankful, and I want to say thank you for all the work that you're doing in the community. To all the communities, also our Latino community, right? Being also Latino. So thanks again for coming. So with all this being said, let's just begin and jump right in.
All right,
you know what I mean? Let's just jump right into this.
Absolutely.
Can you just please share with the public, the community, who you are, where you come from, and how was your upbringing?
Absolutely.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, and before I gave a little bit of my history, I want to thank you as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sabor Latino. We go back
Yes.
a ways, and
Yes.
when I got your call, honestly, I was super excited, and the fact I know what you've done for the Latino community. I know what you've done with positive hip hop and what you've done with all of your messages and just the impact that can really change lives. And when you invited me to come onto this podcast, mm-hmm. I jumped at it. And so thank you for inviting me. It's an absolute joy that I'm here. And I hope that we can continue with this positive message.
Absolutely. And before we get into all of this, I just want to say thank you. You know, I remember when we was in graduate school together, you know, how much you supported me, right? That positive message, that inspiration. And, you know, I'm always confident. I've always, and you know, absolutely. But, you know, you have to give credit when credit is due, right? I know the people that were there for me, the mentors, the motivating people. 10 years later, almost, you know what I mean? PhD student, right? Whatever you're doing with your life, clinician, me doing the hip hop and everything else that I'm doing. Now I figure it'll be the right time. Let's collaborate again and really bring this message to the world on positivity, right? And how as older folks now, with so much experience that we went through, right? You with the PhD working on that, me doing whatever we're doing. Can we continue in collaboration, bring the positive messages, not only to the community, to the Latino community, but to the world in general. So again, thank you for everything and for being here again. So we're going to jump right in.
Yeah.
So again, you want to share to the world or to the community, who are you? How was your upbringing? and we'll go from there. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think it's important to highlight my parents. So my parents were born in the Dominican Republic. Yeah, and they came here to the United States when they were pretty young. My mom was around, I would say, 13 years old. My dad, he was around 17, 18 years old when he came to the United States.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so they came in here, pursuing that dream, right? Pursuing the dream of, because they came from poverty. I'll be real. They came from a space where to achieve their means in the Dominican Republic was incredibly difficult, if not impossible. And so they came here to New York, specifically Washington Heights, to New York to really kind of pursue a life that only America could offer. And they met each other in the Bronx, in the Boogie Down.
Okay, the X.
That's right.
Shout out to the Boogie Down.
Shout out to the Boogie Down. They met each other there. They started dating. They got married, and then they had me. And let me tell you, for all intents and purposes, they achieved their American dream. When I was a kid, I lived in Queens, off of Hillside Avenue in one of the colonial houses, and for all I lived like that middle class life. So my parents did it. They made it.
Wow.
They made it,
Yes.
and they really kind of inspired me to realize that hustle, that working hard, it really does produce what it is that you need. And so so I lived here in Queens when I was a kid. I lived in the Bronx for a little bit, and then the second half of my childhood was in South Florida. So me and my dad, we moved to South Florida, and then I came back to New York for college, and then I stayed ever since.
Interesting.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things that I've always said, right? One of the things is just in general, just the conversation with students and on the bring up and coming up, right? How a lot of the times we have so much dreams to be successful, and a lot of times we kind of fall short in life because we don't have that support system. So I can see in your situation how much your parents have inspired you, right? How much they've been there from the beginning, coming from the Dominican Republic and realizing that those challenges that they may have in another country. But through all those challenges, they stay focused and said, we're not going to let nothing stop us.
That's right.
We came to this ground and this country because we wanted to make a difference in our children's lives.
Yes.
Right? So with all that being said, shout out to all those great parents, you know what I mean, that got 2 jobs and really that speak to their children, that really take the time out and understand what they're going through as teenagers, right? So I really want to say shout out to your parents for doing a great job. Congratulations. Absolutely. Absolutely. Congratulations on all your success, going to graduate school, working on your PhD, right? And we're going to get into all that stuff. But again, just having that foundation of good parents is a prime testimony of what you're saying, how far someone can go. So congratulations to the parents, and shout out to all the good parents out there. Wow, this is getting interesting by the moment. We're just doing the introduction and we're already finding out what's going on with you. So I want to get a little bit into personal journey and motivation.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of the times we're not sure what our journey is going to be.
Yeah.
A lot of the times we might have intrinsic motivation from within or extrinsic motivation, right? But we really don't know what's our personal journey.
That's right.
Right? So my question with all this being said is, what
the human element and especially health and humanity, and how so many people are impacted, and especially our community, our community being historically marginalized,
absolutely
have limited access to services like psychotherapy and things like that, and so that kind of caused me to shift. I was like, I think I want to be a therapist to the community. I want there to be a therapist that understands what it is to grow up Latino here in America.
Absolutely.
How what it is to be first generation and things like that. And so I studied psychology.
Wow.
And then I studied social work. And then I became a therapist.
Right.
And then when I was a therapist, I was like, this is great.
Yes.
I miss the computer stuff.
Oh wow, interesting.
So that's what happened. I was like, I miss computers, and I was like, what can I do? What can I do combining the computer passion that I had as a kid,
right,
and the human passion that I have now?
Oh wow.
And I was like, maybe science, like doing science stuff, because
Okay.
science stuff, you're doing data stuff on the computer all the time, you're analyzing, you're writing, and it still impacts humanity.
Interesting.
And so that's what got me into population health. It's like a marriage of my computer geek and my humanity, you know?
Interesting, but getting more detailed into your testament,
Yes.
or your testimony, I should say, is interesting how you could start with computers or whatever it may be. And although you're still in the profession of social work and everything, all those experiences with computer still makes you a better person, a better worker. Because nowadays with the technology, right, you're more well-rounded with computers and technology and everything else like that.
Yeah.
And that also supports your work of what you're doing now, correct? I would say?
Absolutely. Being diversified and you, of course, Sabor Latino, you know what it is to be diversified.
Appreciate that.
Just entering a professional space and exposing yourself to things that maybe you think you wouldn't be exposed to. It just makes you a more holistic professional.
Yeah. And I think another thing I want to add too, it seems like you're open to possibilities.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? That's one big topic that a lot of people really don't get into, and I think it's important because being open to other things or other areas, and also identifying your talents that you have.
Yeah.
And like, wait a minute, I love doing the PhD and the social work thing, but I started out with computers and media and everything else, right?
Yeah.
So correlating that together makes you a better, more rounded person, right? Also being Latino and speaking two languages, that also helps with everything, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, absolutely. Interesting how everything comes together and comes full circle, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. That's really interesting. So moving right along, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to hold you up. I know you're very busy. You're short on time. But guess what, guys? We're not letting him go, Mr. Isaac, until we get all these learning moments.
That's right.
There's a lot of youth out there that I've spoken to, interested in becoming doctors, interested in doing research. But guess what? Today we have that professional here today that's going to be answering a lot of your questions. Because I know a lot of you tune into the show, right? So we have a lot of learning moments for you guys. So just hang in there. So moving right along, Mr. Isaac, thank you for sharing that. Now, my question is, how does your own heritage and culture fuel your passion for advocating for others? Wow, that's deep.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So I think it definitely fuels my passion because being Latino American and growing up in the United States, you get to experience the richness of culture, the richness of language and exposure to so many different beautiful things about what it means to be a Latino in this world. At the same time, I mean, and we got to be real.
Correct.
You also get exposed to things like discrimination and marginalization. And sometimes when you're exposed to that, that discrimination, it wants to dim the beauty, and we need to say no. We're not going to dim the beauty.
Absolutely.
Because to be Latino is beautiful, and to navigate the world and knowing multiple languages and our food and our dancing and our culture and our music, it's a beautiful thing, and that should never be diminished. And so knowing that beauty, that's what drove me to advocate that when the world is looking at a community, and I know that today we're in a space where our community in some ways is being targeted, and there are a lot of there's a lot of misinformation. There are a lot of narratives that are just not true about our community, and so we need to step up and tell the truth, right, and actually expose the layered truth. And advocate for the fact that we are deserving of humanity just like anyone else.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting, right? Being so diverse in New York City, right? Very important to everyone out there, right? To really understand your culture and your heritage, right? That although we are in different spaces and dealing with different cultures, it's really good to understand who you are, where you come from. If you're bilingual, are you working on learning how to speak Spanish, right? And being really, really, really prepared so when you're actually in the professional field that you're representing whatever you went to school for, right? As that professional now, you're very well-rounded and can even provide better services, right? Knowing that, you are Latino, right? Not to take away from no cultures, right? But we're just speaking in general, right? It's more specific, being Latino professionals, right? Understanding your heritage and understanding your culture and how much that's viewed and how important that is,
Yeah.
right? And being prepared. And I also think that correlates again to being open to possibilities, right?
Absolutely.
Always being open to possibilities of how you can make yourself better so you can be better prepared to help the people that you serve. So thank you for sharing that. Very, very good, interesting point. Really understanding who we are and where we come from, right?
Yes.
Now, I want to get into a little bit the intersection of Latinos and disabilities.
Sure.
Wow. And the reason I say that is I know it's a very sensitive topic, right? But it's something that really needs to be brought up to the forefront. And who better than you, right? Doing your research in that, studying to be a doctor, educational doctor. What is your feedback on that, this topic we're about to talk about? So with all this being said, my question would be, what are some of the biggest barriers the Latino community faces when it comes to understanding disability rights? Wow. Oof.
Absolutely. So
Go ahead, Ms. Isaac. Thank you.
the answer has several parts. And I'm going to start with a social work perspective. One of the principles that we discuss in social work when we practice it, whether we're therapists, whether we're counselors, or whether we're doing case management,
Absolutely.
is an idea called cultural humility. And what that idea is, it basically says that when we are interacting with any community, we should not assume that we are experts of that community.
Interesting.
And we should also assume that we probably will never be experts in that community, and that we have to learn continuously. For example, when we refer to the Latino community, that's not just one community. That's hundreds, if not thousands, of different communities with different dialects and different ways of cultural upbringing. It is not a monolith. And so we have to, even within our own Latino communities, we cannot presume that we have expertise into another person's experience.
Interesting.
And I say that first with Latinos.
Absolutely.
Because when we are trying to understand disability, and I understand that this is a controversial topic.
Copy.
But when we're trying to understand disability, we have to approach it from that stance that we don't know, and that we are here to lean in and to better understand.
Absolutely.
Okay. You mentioned barriers when it comes to rights. There are individual barriers, and there are what we call systemic barriers.
Copy that. Absolutely.
Individual barriers could be you're in a family and maybe your family is not comfortable or they don't understand how to discuss disability.
Okay.
And because they may not fully understand, maybe they're not seeking services. Because they're not sure where to go, they're not sure how to get a diagnosis or even if it's appropriate. They're not sure if the people in their community will understand if they're trying to get services and what that could mean to the family. And so that can be a personal barrier. And then there are also systemic barriers.
Correct.
Now, let's say the family realizes it's actually a healthy thing to get services, to get a diagnosis, to get a better understanding of a disability, but then they enter a space and no one speaks their language. They enter a clinic or they enter a hospital and no one understands their cultural experience. They don't understand how they view the world, and so they treat these families just as they would treat anyone else. And so that systemic barrier makes it even more difficult for these communities to get the services and the health care that they need.
Absolutely. Now let me ask you a question to correlate with the testimony you're saying, right? In situations like that, when people are feeling maybe not valued to a certain extent, we can say, right? What are some things, as you're a professional therapist, are some interventions or ways that you can let them know, like, listen, I come from where you come from.
Yeah.
I get the message. I see the picture that you're painting. How are you able to support that person and say, don't worry, I'm going to guide you to really understand that I do know, being Latino and studying in the field about disabilities. How do you make someone feel comfortable? Wow.
I think you highlighted it in the first part of your statement. First is about leaning in. It's about giving them space, giving families space to communicate, to be messy.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Okay.
say, you know what, it's okay to be messy.
Wow.
It's okay that you don't really, that you may not really know how to navigate this, or let's say you do know how to navigate this, but it's difficult to figure out where to go and what services to get. That's okay. Let's be messy. Let's be messy. And in that mess, things will come out, and in that mess we can create a map.
Wow.
And then with that map together, we can start to make the mess seem a little more clear.
Copy.
So that you can get your services, and that you can move forward in a way that is more clear. But you start with the mess. You don't start immediately with the map. You start with the mess, and then you move on to the map.
Absolutely. And also adding to everything that you're saying, because I'm really paying attention, right? Your testimony is very important here. I also notice, right, when you approach it and the way you're approaching it, I also believe that's part of empowerment.
That's right.
Right? Of how you're making that client feel. You're not alone. Here's a professional that knows your background. Here's a professional that's studying about disabilities to become a doctor. Right? I know what it takes. And I think adding to what I'm getting at is that support system that you're providing. Right? And at the same token, you're doing it in collaboration. And as the clinician or the professional is laying down that blueprint, right, or that intervention in place, supporting this person that does feel less valued, right? I'm speaking for experience because that's what we also do in counseling, right? How it makes not only the student, but the person or individual feel.
That's right.
Right? Especially when we're talking about a sensitive topic on disability. Correct, Mr. Isaac?
Absolutely.
Right. Anything else you want to add to that? Or
I do want to add something else.
Wow.
The other side of this coin is that we need to look at the entire population. And that's where population health comes in. We definitely need to consider one-on-one and the humanity of the individual and the family. But we also need to question ourselves, question, why is it that if you're looking at 20,000 families, there are some families that are disproportionately getting less services than others?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Why is it that some families have disproportionate access to healthcare or education or social services or financial resources? Why is this happening at the population level? And so population health allows us to kind of zoom out and see, okay, here are the systems that are contributing to disenfranchisement, not just at the individual level, but at the mass level.
Absolutely.
And so by combining both of these perspectives of individual families and looking at things in mass, we have a clearer picture.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, when we have that clear picture, adding to what you're saying, we can kind of understand what's going on, right? We can kind of understand how to approach it, right? Understanding the collaboration aspect of it, right? Yeah. Understanding as a worker, as a clinician, as a professional, this is not easy, right? But through your experiences of coming up, right, and growing up with that support system with your parents, you understand the value of being able to support others. That's right. And now you add in that education aspect of it. Now you add in that research aspect of it. Now you add in that culture and heritage aspect of it that you're saying. Correct, Mr. Isaac?
Absolutely.
And all this is a win-win situation for everyone. So again, this is so interesting. And again, I really appreciate you coming on the show and just clarifying a lot of things that are going on with the disabilities in the Latino communities. And always remember, if I may also add to this, you're not alone. Try to find the right people that really understand what you need, right? You have a voice like we all do. And it's all important to share your voice. Correct, Mr. Isaac?
I love that you said that. And I think that what's important is that while I am highlighting the very important issue of disability in the Latino community, my voice is as a professional. My voice is not as a disabled person. And the voices that we need to hear, the voices that honestly need to be on the mic, are members of the disability community.
Right.
People who live through it, people who have been diagnosed, people who understand the stigma behind it, who live it every single day.
100%.
We need to pass the mic.
Right. And also always at the end of the day, always be supportive.
Absolutely.
Right? Because they need that help. Thank you so much, Ms. Isaac, for sharing that. Very, very deep conversation, topic. But again, in the learning moment with Sabor Latino, there's going to be some topics that need to be addressed. Right? And this is why we're here today, to bring in that information to everyone. So, moving right along, right? This is getting great by the moment, more interesting by the moment. So, moving on. How does mental health stigma within the Latino community affect people with disabilities?
Yeah.
Wow, now we're talking about in the community.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So stigma is not unique to the Latino community.
Correct.
When it comes to mental health, it is pervasive. It exists across many communities. And the challenge with stigma is that it, in a way, creates a barrier to getting services that are needed. So if an individual is experiencing a challenge,
correct,
or experiencing a disability, or experiencing anything that makes navigating life harder, it doesn't make them any less human. It doesn't strip away humanity. It doesn't strip away meaning and worth. And unfortunately, sometimes stigma attempts to strip away at that.
correct,
And so individuals first don't speak up when they're experiencing a challenge.
correct,
And then when they do speak up,
correct,
and they finally say, hey, I'm having this challenge, hopefully they're met with support at the family level so that they can get the services that they need. But even if they're not met with that kind of support, it becomes a navigational challenge. And it's not just within the family. It's on the job as well.
Right.
Let's say you're working. One of the things that we have our Americans with Disabilities Act, right? The ADA was passed in 1990. It essentially is a set of legal rules that make it so that if you have a disability, you must have accommodations in your workplace and education and things like that. This is the law. This is not something that is a privilege. It is the law. It is your right. And stigma sometimes makes us forget that.
Absolutely.
That it is your right to work at your capacity and to be able to navigate all parts of life, healthcare, education, the workplace, regardless of your disability status, but even especially if you have a disability status.
Absolutely.
And stigma strips away from that.
Absolutely. If I may add real quick to what you're saying, thank you for sharing that very deep informational stuff. I think one of the areas too that I think that's super important is not only having a disability, because we know it's very challenging, right, in life, but I think something that's very important that I want to bring up is I think someone that's going through a disability should try their best to really get education on what it is to be a disabled person, right? What are the benefits that you are entitled to, right? I know when I was doing my master's, I took a class and they spoke a lot about how certain recreation centers should have parking spaces for people with individual disabilities, correct?
Accessibility.
Mr. Isaac, right? Just to be a little bit more deep into this, how also there should be, strips where they can come up, or platforms where they can actually come up, elevators, exits, right? And things of that nature of how that is important. So I kind of have a little bit of background, now obviously not as deep as you, but I know what you mean with how important this is. But what I'm trying to say is being very mindful about getting educated on it. Yeah. Knowing your rights, knowing the laws, and everything goes. Wait, I'm sorry, you want to say something?
No, I was going to say something. Latino, you are humble because I remember you working on a large project where you had to design all of the components of accessibility when it comes to creating a recreational space.
I remember that.
So you are an expert, my friend.
I appreciate that.
I understand your humility, but you are an expert.
Yeah.
And I love that you bring up the topic of accessibility.
Correct.
Because one of the things that we, those of us who are disability researchers and disability practitioners, one of the things that we refer to is the universality of accessibility. And what I mean by that is that accessibility mechanisms benefit everyone.
Wow. Okay.
If we install a ramp that goes into a building, not only does it benefit someone who uses a wheelchair, but it benefits a new mother who is carrying 13 grocery bags into her building because she's just trying to make it. You know, with closed captions, right? Closed captions is an accessibility service that we see on YouTube.
That's another one.
Right? Not only does it help individuals who are part of the deaf community,
correct,
but it helps people who are trying to learn a language.
Absolutely.
And if the room is noisy and you still want to know what the people are saying, closed captions still help. So accessibility is universal. It doesn't just benefit the disability community, but it is the disability community that got them there.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. One thing I want to bring to the forefront too that I think is really important. One of the things one of my observations, I say, when I was in graduate school and I was doing that class, and thank you for the support on that. I remember we worked a lot on that. I remember how when we get deep into disabilities, a lot of people don't realize how they're so involved in sports. Mm-hmm. I remember going to a recreation center, and I was there for like 2-3 weeks, just really speaking to the director. And he's showing me how individuals playing basketball teams in wheelchairs. Mm-hmm. It really blew my mind how these, I call them inspirational individuals, did not let their disability stop them. And you see how they playing defense and how they on the wheelchair and turning this way and turning that way. And they pass it to each other and he's shooting and make the shot and they all screaming and yelling. And I'm sitting there how sports not only brings people together, but there's also a space in sports for individuals with disability. What is your take on that, Ms. Isaac? That's a big thing, isn't it?
It's a huge
for mental health as well, right?
Wow, absolutely. It blew my mind. It's a huge thing, and I love the fact that you bring this up because the disability community is just as athletic as any other community. Shout out to the Special Olympics, by the way, which is a large community of professional athletes who also experience disabilities.
Absolutely.
So it goes back to the idea of humanity, right? To say you can't participate in a sport because you have a physical disability strips your humanity. It takes humanity away.
Wow.
And by saying, you know what, it's not that you can't participate, it's that the way that this sport is currently designed does not accommodate you. And so we need to shift the sport so that you can still produce utmost athleticism, but in a way that you can access.
Excellent, right? And at the same time, right, and I'm saying this to all by the way, if I may, I just came to my mind, I want to give a shout out, Mr. Isaac, to all those professionals that are working with the disability population and in those spaces, right? Those individuals got to get a lot of shout out from me. I've seen them hands-on, working with them, listening, their mentors, giving them courage, giving them inspiration. So with all due respect from Sabor Latino here on the Learning Moment with Sabor Latino, shout out to all the people that work in that space. It's not easy, and I see the work that we've done. Again, I was there for a couple of weeks, and it just blew my mind. 10 years later, and we having this conversation.
That's right.
That's how impactful that was to me, right?
Exactly.
So again, shout out to all those people that work in the disability field, those professionals. Continue to understand what they're going through and not giving up in that population. Correct, Ms. Isaac?
You're absolutely correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're moving right along. You know what I mean? This is getting so interesting by the moment. So moving right along, right? Thank you for answering that. We really got into that topic of the importance of supporting them, the importance of really understanding what's going on, the importance of them to get educated on the laws, for them to know that there's a lot of services available for them there, and also the last part, understanding what the people behind that work are doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So moving on. Now, me being in so many different spaces of what I do as a profession, you as well, one of the things that I noticed that doesn't get brought up to the forefront a lot, and I think we touched on it off air, self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yes. So, I always believed in self-care. I always believed that in order for us to continue to inspire the people that we do, we need to take care of ourselves.
Surely.
And sometimes we do so much for others that at times we tend to forget about ourselves. Is that correct, right, Mr. Isaac?
That's absolutely right.
So with all this being said, I want to touch a little bit about self-care. And my question is, why is self-care so important for Latino communities who take care of loved ones with a disability? Wow.
Absolutely. So
Go ahead. Wow.
So we're talking about family members of the disability community, caregivers, who do a lot. They're certainly an essential component of individuals seeking disability services.
Yes.
And all sorts of resources that can benefit the disability community. The challenge is, especially again in the Latino community, and I preface this by saying I don't want to speak of all Latino communities. Every Latino community is different.
Right. With respect, absolutely.
Absolutely. With respect, let's not overgeneralize.
Copy.
At the same time, in Latino culture, we there's this pride of taking care of the other person. And contributing to the family unit, contributing. And
yes.
There's so much pride to contributing that sometimes
talk about it.
When we ask for help, we feel like, are we diminishing that pride? Like, are we being are we taking advantage of something that we shouldn't take advantage of? And the truth is, you're not. By engaging in self-care, you are refueling. And by refueling, one, you're acknowledging the fact that you're a member of the community too, right?
Absolutely.
You're not this essence that is outside of the community. You are a member as well. So taking care of yourself is akin to taking care of another. So that's
absolutely.
one.
Absolutely.
And another thing is that if you're running on empty, then your caregiving is not going to be as impactful. Your work, you're seeking resources. It's like driving a car, with almost empty gas. It's just not going to keep going. You need to refuel. You need to rest. You need to nourish yourself. You need to be around people who care about you.
Absolutely.
That's what it means to be human being, and it only makes us better caregivers. It only makes us better at what we do. The challenge is to restructure the idea that self-help is damaging pride, because it isn't. It enhances pride.
I love it.
It enhances your part of the community.
I love it. Oh wow, thank you for sharing that. Very deep. Just to add to that, again, a learning moment, right?
Yeah.
I remember. Right, I'll take it to my personal experience again. We're just learning moments all over the place, right? I remember adding to self-care, one of the things, and I'm sure you do the same thing, before each year begins to end or getting close to the end, I always try to create some new goals. So with this being said, in 2025, the ending was coming. So I started putting together my plan with the goals and projects that I have for 2026. And this time around, Mr. Isaac, being sincere and honest, I put self-care number 1 on the list. And a lot of the times there's always book on the list, a course on the list, a song on the list. This time around, I make sure that it was self-care on the list. So with all this being said, I decided to really start going to the gym. And now what I've been doing is 2 days a week, mandatory. I'm in the gym getting my workout. And I would like to say and share to the community and the world, if you can, try to get yourself involved in some kind of recreations activities, physical fitness and all that. And you're going to see how it continues to bring the best version of yourself. Now I can go all week. Now I can write 3 songs and everything. And I feel like I have enough to continue to give, right? So if I may, self-care, everyone out there, please start thinking about self-care. It's only halfway through the year. If you haven't created those goals with self-care, I highly recommend to start creating some goals with self-care. Whether it could be with expression and writing poetry, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's walking your dog, whatever it may be, something that you can do, a safe space you can go and work on your self-care. Is that correct, Ms. Isaac?
That's exactly right. And I love the fact that you bring up recreation and exercise. These things are so incredibly beneficial, not just to our physical health, but to our mental health. A lot of the research suggests that individuals who regularly exercise and do things like cardiovascular exercise and resistance have lower rates of depression symptoms.
Oh wow!
Have lower rates of anxiety.
Correct.
And so it isn't just about the physicality of it, but also how we feel and how we navigate the world. And you also have more energy. You wake up feeling refreshed. And so, so self-care absolutely encompasses that. And doing the thing that you love. Honestly, if this week, we're halfway through the week here, and if we're halfway through the week, or we're later in the week, or even at the beginning of the week, if you notice that you haven't done something this week that that you haven't done something that you love, add that to your list.
Exactly. Another thing I want to say, just to add to that avenue or to this testimony you're saying, is that it's important for self-care. I think one of the biggest things to be successful, and not always about money, right? But how to be successful, I think, is preparation.
Absolutely.
And what I'm getting with this is that self-care and taking care of yourself, you are always prepared. If you're ready to take on that next challenge or that next chapter in your life, you're confident enough, you're prepared, you've been working out, your mental health is right, you're confident, your self-esteem is really in a good place, right? And all that has to do with, again, and I talk about it on my 5th book, You're a Beautiful and Special Person No Matter What. How do we go back into those recreation activities, work on that self-esteem, don't get discouraged or get caught up in all these risky behaviors and negative energies that are out there, staying focused on what's the mission and what's the goal. And a lot of that has to do with discipline, right? Preparation. And the last part, self-care.
That's right.
Correct, right?
That's right.
So absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. We going right in. A lot of great topics, understanding self-care, understanding what's going on with disabilities and everything else that we'll be talking about. I mean, this is just getting really interesting. So moving right along, I have another question. And this is a little bit about the medical profession, right? How can medical professionals and social workers in collaboration provide better culturally sensitive care to Latinos with disabilities? Wow.
Absolutely. Oof. So this goes back a little bit to what we talked about earlier regarding cultural humility and to be culturally humble, meaning that even if you are a medical professional, even if you are a therapist, a physician, a nurse practitioner, or a registered nurse, what have you, an occupational therapist, the list goes on. While you have a certainly expertise and technicality in your area, you need to understand that you are not an expert of the family in front of you, and that you are not an expert of the entire Latino community, even if you're Latino yourself.
Interesting.
It's about letting go of that idea of expertise. Yes, you have technical skills, but the family, the patients, the clients that are in front of you, they're the experts of their lives. So that's number one, is to allow yourself to get educated by these families.
Interesting.
And I love the fact that you bring up different professions, right? So let's say you have a social worker in the room, you have a doctor in the room, you have an occupational therapist. Another thing that you can do is you can listen to other professionals and their perspectives, because an occupational therapist might look at accessibility different than a neurologist. A social worker may look at disability and accessibility different than a counselor does. And by combining these perspectives, we call this interdisciplinarity. By combining these perspectives, you're actually creating a richer understanding of whatever challenge you see in front of you. So to kind of put it succinctly, be culturally humble, respect the family as experts, and if you happen to be amongst other professionals, be interdisciplinary.
Interesting. So with all this said, adding to what he's saying, I think what he's getting at is really understanding and knowing that you might not have all the answers.
That's right.
Correct, right? I think that's what we're getting at. Also understanding that it's a whole team and everyone have different perspectives, different ideas, right? Different interventions that they can put in place. But at the end of the day, I think what he's trying to say is in collaboration, we could really understand with different ideas of how we can work collectively and really support the family. Correct? Is that what you mean, Mr. Isaac?
That's absolutely right.
Right? So again, being mindful to all the professions out there in the medical field, right? Counselors, social workers, occupational therapists, I believe you said, everyone involved. Being mindful that we're working as a team and we all don't have the answers, right? And we can't, you said that we can't change all of them, you said, I believe you said, the families, to be correct, right? So again, being mindful of all of that and working in collaboration. Wow, this is so interesting. Thank you for that feedback. So now I want to talk a little bit about advice and looking ahead. You know, social services I've been doing more than 10 years, counseling and youth and so many background and observations and data that I've received. But one of the things I noticed is how we present the advice that we give it. Right? So with this question being said again on advice and looking ahead, when we are providing this advice and these students or these individuals that we're working with are looking ahead, my question would be, what is one piece of advice, Mr. Isaac, you will give to a young Latino facing a new disability diagnosis? Wow.
Yeah.
Oof. Wow.
That can be a heavy time, especially if it is a new diagnosis.
Absolutely. Yes.
First and foremost, I would like to share that that diagnosis is not a defeat. It is not a sense of destruction. In fact, it is the opposite. Having a diagnosis provides clarity. It helps us understand why it is that we're having challenges with certain things. It helps us understand what interventions exist that can allow us to navigate systems and day-to-day life a bit easier. So the diagnosis ultimately is a tool. It is a tool that you as a young person, you can use that tool. You can use that tool with your teachers, with your doctors, with your counselors, with your friends, to help them understand you and to help them figure out how to create an environment that benefits you.
Absolutely.
So use that tool. Of course, at first, it may seem like a shock, and it's okay to sit with that shock. It's okay to kind of sit there and go, wow, this is heavy. I didn't realize I have this diagnosis. And after you pass that shock, allow yourself to understand that it's a tool, and it's a tool that you are the one that is wielding.
Interesting things that you're saying. If I may add to that, me personally, one of the things that I would put out there would be letting the client or the person know that you're not alone. Right? Trying to be as supportive as you can, understanding that it's not easy what you're going through. But I want you to know that don't give up. I want you to know that I'm going to support you. I want you to know that not only me, but also everyone that's going to work with you in our team, we're going to be here to try to support you all the way through.
All the way through.
And I think with just presenting that as well, kind of can make the person feel a little bit more at ease. Right? Because at the same time, when you're getting a diagnosis like that, you're not sure where their mental health is, at the moment.
Sure.
So again, we really also got to be very careful with our words and how do we present it and how we're providing that support. And I think those two things really would help this person understand that, although I'm going through this, I think I can handle this and manage it. Correct, Ms. Isaac? Empowerment. That's absolutely. Right. Wow. Moving along with advice and looking ahead. Another interesting question. How do you hope the conversation around Latino disabilities will change in the future?
I hope first that more conversations happen.
Copy.
And that it's a conversation that is a normal one to have. And that it becomes something that we lean into and we talk about, just as we would talk about getting our next paycheck. Or just as we would talk about going to see the doctor.
Absolutely.
Or supporting a friend. I want to normalize disability. I hope that what ultimately, and the fact that you're creating a platform with your podcast, Sabor Latino, those of us who work in this space, we're so grateful because what you're doing is you're normalizing.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate that. And that's what I hope continues, is that this becomes a day-to-day thing.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that, especially coming from you. You know what I mean? One of my mentors, I kind of say like a mentor type, right? Going through that challenge of graduate school, right? Taking some tutoring classes. You're there like Sabor, you got this, and et cetera, et cetera. I don't forget those moments, right? I'm very humble. But with all this being said, thank you for that answer. That was great, right? really understanding that you know, things are gonna hopefully change in the future.
Yeah.
And we could shift that narrative into probably something more positive.
That's right.
Is that correct?
That's right.
Good. So moving right along, I got another great question for you. What message of hope or self-love do you want to leave with our listeners or our community today? Wow.
Yeah. I hope that for those of you watching and listening, that hope and self-love is a theme that permeates our talk, and I'm sure they go through all of your other talks as well.
Absolutely.
Is that's what inspires us. That's what gets us up. That's what gets us to the hustle. That's what gets us to do the things that we do. Is that we push and we work hard, not for titles, not for prestige, but because it creates a sense of hope in communities that perhaps may not have that much hope.
Absolutely.
And so it's okay to have hope. Lean into it. Have hope. You deserve it. And love yourself. You know? Love yourself as you are, whether you are disabled, non-disabled, whether you are whatever you're experiencing. And here's the thing about the disability community that is unique to the disability community.
Absolutely.
Being a member of this disability community is not about if. It is about when. Because all of us in our lives will eventually become disabled. In some way, shape, or form.
Interesting.
Right?
Interesting.
It may happen when we're older.
Right.
It may happen because of an accident. It may happen because of something that we're born with. But we are all potential members of this community. We are all potential members. I mean, think about your great grandparent who might be experiencing challenges with memory and dementia. That's a disability.
Interesting.
Think about someone who broke their arm and now they can't write with their dominant arm for 3 weeks. That's a disability.
Absolutely.
Right? So all of these different things are part of the human experience, and that it's okay to acknowledge that your disability status doesn't make you any less human.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. Wow, very powerful testimony. I just want to add a quick inspirational words from Sabor Latino. Don't matter your background. Don't matter where you come from. Don't matter your higher level education or no education. I personally want to say you are a beautiful and special person, no matter what. And that's why I titled my 5th book that title, because I don't look at people for how much money they have. I look at people for individuals, right? And we also have to be mindful about the disability aspect. We also have to be mindful about professionals. How do we keep inspiring these people or individuals that are going through some serious challenges in life, diagnoses and etc. And how can we continue taking care of ourselves with self-care and providing those good services and being always the better version of ourselves? But again, never give up hope. You are a beautiful and special person no matter what. And always remember, you have a voice. We all have a voice. There's nothing wrong with letting people know how you're feeling. There's nothing letting people know that you're going through some challenges. There's nothing wrong with letting people listen. I have a disability. I don't understand this. Can you help me? Right? That's what you have a voice for. Right? And if you could take away something from today, from all the great testimonies that Mr. Isaac has brought to the table, which we all appreciate, at least think about your self-care. At least think about how you're looking at disability. Because like he said, when we get old, we probably eventually all going to have a disability. Right, Mr. Isaac?
That's right.
Absolutely. Wow. Great moments, great learning moments. So now, moving on to my next question. I know we've been going at this for a while. I know you're trying to run, but we got to hold you up a little longer, Mr. Isaac. We got to hold you up a little longer. We got a few more questions.
All right.
So, you know that the new podcast, The Learning Moment with Sabor Latino, is about learning moments. Right? I said to myself, every time I bring on a guest or I reach out to a guest, it has to be a learning moment.
Yes.
So with all this being said with learning moments, let me move on to my next question. What is one major moment, Mr. Isaac, you want to share with our audience that has made you the inspirational person you are today? Wow.
Thank you, Sabor Latino.
Yep.
I'll get a little personal for this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
So A learning moment for me, especially as someone who balances these two professions, right? So population health, research, and social work. It took me a while to learn this, but one of the things that I learned is that it's okay when you're not doing everything at 100%. Even though we strive for excellence, and even though we want to be perfect at everything that we do, we need to remind ourselves that we're human, and that sometimes, for example, I'll use my perspective. If I am at the clinic for a whole day, and I happen to be working with individuals who are maybe struggling immensely, that can take a toll. And perhaps that night, my research may not be at its best. Or if I've been writing for 15 hours straight, and I can only get a few hours of rest, I need to understand that maybe I'm not going to be at the top of my therapist game, but it doesn't mean that I still can't provide the support. Right? So that's a learning moment for me, is that it's okay to not be 100% everywhere, as long as you allow yourself to contribute your utmost. And engage in self-care, right? It's a big theme of our talk today, is engaging in that self-care, because that self-care is for you, but it's also for your patients, your clients, your listeners, your readers. All those people are benefiting because of your self-care.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. The testimony is going to go so far. I know your testimony is going to touch a lot of people. Right, all the background that you have, experiences, and everything else, and I believe more importantly that message of hope that you're providing, right? Letting people know that it's okay. We know you have a disability. It's okay that you're going to face challenges. It's okay that you're going to have some diagnoses in life, right? But also at the same time, understanding that you have a voice, understanding that you have a lot of people that come from your background, understanding that there's a lot of people that are willing to sacrifice whatever it may be to support you, to become that better version of yourself, right? Which means, again, hope. So with all this being said, life is about learning moments, right? I always said it when I was in social services. We're going to make mistakes. But the key to this conversation is, and it's not about making the mistakes, but what will be that learning moment we can get out of that mistake that's going to help us become better professionals, right? Always remembering that we're going to make mistakes in life. You know what I mean? How many times I've made mistakes, but I've learned from them.
That's right.
Right? How many times I made mistakes in graduate school, thinking I had all the answers. And I spoke about this in Fox 5 News, and I'll say it again. Went to graduate school, my first class, thinking I had all the answers. Took that first final, it was like a 67, 68. I'm like, what? You gotta be kidding me. Learning moment. I knew I really had to prepare myself. I really had to know that I had to find that support system. Right? Et cetera, et cetera. So again, just to wrap this question up, life is just all about a learning moment. And thank you for sharing that, Mr. Isaac. We're moving right along, right? We're coming to an end, right? I'm super excited just to have you on here and be able to give all these great testimonies that you're doing. So, moving on. Is there any other topic, because we still have a few minutes, or something else you would like to share? It's up to you.
Yeah. So
give you the platform.
This is it's a topic that we've touched on today, and I wanted to focus on it.
Absolutely.
And it's the topic of excellence.
I
know so many of your listeners, and definitely the both of us here, we strive for excellence. We push ourselves for just being the best of who we are, and just being the best, the best person that we possibly can be.
Best version of ourselves. Absolutely.
What we need to remember is that excellence is not the enemy of humanity.
And you mentioned that in the beginning. Absolutely. Wow.
Right? Is that to be excellent also means to be human, which means that you can be flawed, and that can contribute to your excellence. Right? Our learning moments only make us smarter. That you can be sick and you can still be excellent, that you can rest, that you can exercise, that you can be around your loved ones, that you can do the things that you love at least once a week, and you can still be excellent.
Absolutely.
To be excellent does not negate your humanity. Your humanity is what makes you excellent.
Absolutely. And if I may add to that real quick, and I've also mentioned this in a lot of interviews that I do with, media, whatever. I mentioned that you don't have to have the higher education. You don't have to have the higher work position or role. You could be a superstar in your own space. Is that correct, Mr.
That's absolutely
And I think
right.
that's what you're trying to say.
That's absolutely
Right?
right.
Even with a disability, you can be a superstar in your own space. Thank you for sharing that. Wow, this has really been very, very interesting, just like I knew it was going to be. That's why I really wanted you to be on the show, right? So wrapping all this up, Mr. Isaac, we want to say thank you for coming on the show. We want to say it's been a great moment here, sharing some learning moments with you, right? And the community, right? So with all this being said, wrapping this question up, I know you want to go. We're going to let you go now. But before you go, Mr. Isaac, I would like for you to, if you could share with the community, the fans, the public, where can my audience or community find you?
Absolutely.
Can you share your social media information? Maybe someone has a question on disabilities.
Sure.
Maybe there's a student that wants to go to get his doctorate in education, and you might be that right person to give them the right answers.
Absolutely.
Correct? Is there you can share your social media platforms and etc.
For sure, and I'm sure that you can also share this with graphics as well.
Sure.
So the easiest way to get in contact with me is probably through LinkedIn.
Oh, interesting.
So if you search for Isaac Rodriguez, that's my last name, and you type in social worker, I'm usually the first person that pops up.
Interesting.
So Isaac Rodriguez, social worker, you'll see me on LinkedIn. If you're more interested in talking to me about research, I'm based out of Stony Brook University, which is out of the State University of New York. So you can type my name, type in Stony Brook University, you'll probably find me. One of the first matches on Google, and my email pops up, and I'm happy to share that here too, with the graphic that pops up.
Wow, thank you so much. So, to all my fans out there, to all the community out there, to everyone that follows the show, I want to say thank you for everyone's love and support. Thank you for everyone that continues to support Sabor Latino's books, music, and everything else, right? But more importantly, we got to say thank you to Mr. Isaac for coming down and spending some time with us. I got to give you a clap. You know what I mean? We really appreciate you. I'm going to give you another one. I got to give you another one, right?
And
thank you for
give
sharing.
yourself one too. Give yourself
one.
one.
I'll do that.
That's
I'll do that.
That's
Absolutely.
right.
I'll do that. Thank you for that. But sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, again, thank you for coming on the show. This is going to go so far with so many people wanting to know about so many areas that you're working on in that your specific field. Last thing I want to say, I look forward to some collaborations we're going to be doing in the future. That's another thing, but definitely look forward to that. And again, I want to say thank you for everything. God bless you. And I wish you the best in all your endeavors. And we're definitely going to be staying in contact. All right?
You better believe it, Sabor Latino.
All right.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. All right, guys. Good night. I hope you guys enjoy the show. Thank you, guys. God bless everyone. Sabor Latino. Thank you.